There's something captivating about a great villain. Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Basterds, Darth Vader from Star Wars, they're both likable while you know they're bad. And Disney does a fantastic job with all of its villains. Please note, when I say Disney, I mean the Walt Disney Animation Studios, not Pixar, or any smaller production companies owned by Disney. There are a lot of villains from the Disney library, so who did I pick? Well, let's find out. 8. Stromboli from Pinocchio was a pimp. Did I just rock your world? You can paint it however you want, but at the end of the day, Stromboli is exploiting a boy on stage for money. And then later we go to Pleasure Island? Pinocchio's getting one hell of a glimpse of society. Stromboli is one of the first two-faced bastards that Pinocchio encounters on his journey. And when we first meet him, he's lovable, laughable, and boisterous. We even get that I've Got No Strings song in his theater. It's all good fun and games. But apparently it's all smoke and mirrors, because he locks Pinocchio up in a cage and tells him that when he stops making him money, he's gonna chop him up into firewood. Pretty standard pimp protocol, actually. Try saying that 3 times fast. Pimp protocol, pimp protocol, pimp protocol. What also makes Stromboli Pinocchio's greatest adversary is that he actually beats him. Were it not for the Blue Fairy, Pinocchio would still be in the cage. Jiminy Cricket tries to get him out and he can't. So the Deus Ex Machina Blue Fairy not to show up, Pinocchio would still be whoring himself on stage. But the fairy helps the puppet out just so he can be turned into a jackass and swallowed by a whale. If only he hadn't played hooky. 7. This one was really tough. I kept switching from Percival C. McLeach from Rescuers Down Under and Cruella de Vil from 101 Dalmatians. Man vs. Wild has always been a theme in Disney. And while the princesses are always frolicking with the woodland critters, there's always some Clayton or Amos who doesn't understand how nature works. Admittedly, McLeach is doing more harm to nature directly in hunting endangered species, but survival of the fittest, right? He's going after full-grown game for cash, whereas Cruella de Vil is going after puppies for fur coats. Puppies can't defend themselves. That'd be like drowning a baby, and that's why Cruella wins. And it's not even a good business model. If she'd at least wait for the puppies to grow up, she'd have more fur. I mean, maybe puppy fur is softer for coats, but still, she is planning on making a coat out of a domesticated animal, man's best friend. And she can throw her money around all she wants, but when Roger says no, she throws a tantrum. She's like a spindly Veruca Salt in a first-class bitch. And she's even scarier as Glenn Close. 6. Now, Hades wants the throne, but as an outlier, he wouldn't just be facing off against Zeus, but also all of Olympus. And all of Men in Black, because Zeus is voiced by Rip Torn. But Hades, while evil, is a classy guy. You have to understand that he wasn't always portrayed as such a schmoozy type, but James Wood brought that Hollywood producer element to the character that made him both enjoyable and deadly. I suppose pun intended. You see, in order to beat Zeus, Hades is to unleash the Titans. Wait a minute, I don't see this anywhere. But there's a prophecy that says that Hercules will defeat Hades. Yeah, I don't see this in the... Are you even going off the text? So naturally, the only thing that Hades can do is kill Hercules, but Hercules is a god. He's not. So Hades is just throwing monster upon monster after Hercules in hopes of killing him, but he's got one more ace up his sleeve. Meg. Oh, right, it's Disney. Go on. Meg is the most tragic character in the Hercules story. She loved the dude died, she made a deal with Hades to bring the dude back, and then the dude fell for another woman. Life's a bitch, huh? And Hades is all about making deals, so he promises Meg her freedom if she compromises Hercules on the day that he plans to overthrow Zeus. Which leads us into another contract with Hercules, and in turn another contract between the two of them when things go a little sour. Basically, he's the baddest wheeler and dealer there is. The lesson here? Don't sign contracts. 5. Jafar be a power-trippin' fool. He's been secretly plotting to rule Agrabah as the Sultan, and to do so he's working from several angles. The first, of course, is the lamp. He goes out to the desert with street rats and feeds them to a sand tiger. Hey, I calls it like I sees it. Sand tiger. But like I said, Jafar's got multiple things cooking. He's such a good chef. For a brief while, he thinks that his best bet to becoming Sultan is by marrying Jasmine. But in actuality, he has a far greater resource at his disposal that he uses way too sparingly. Holy crap, Jafar, you have a snake staff that hypnotizes people. God, that sounds dirty. All you'd have to do is snake staff the guards. Definitely dirty. And your military coup would take place faster than the mutiny in Crimson Tide. Obscure out of genre, movie reference, yeah. But of course, when Jafar does become the Sultan, it isn't enough. Because as I stated before, he be power trippin'. Golly, I'm white. That's why he's gotta become an evil sorcerer, one of whose many powers is terrible, terrible puns as he thwarts Aladdin's attempts to defeat him. Things are unraveling, boy. Get the point? You really do have to appreciate some of those. He'd embarrass his kids so much. But when it comes down to it, Jafar really is an evil snake. He's just been waiting to strike this whole time. 4. So in Animal Hamlet, Scar kills his brother and runs the heir to the throne out of the area. Technically, he wants him killed, killed, but like any good Disney film, Snow White, Hercules, Emperor's New Groove, he passes his biggest threat off to some incompetent lackey who inevitably allows them to escape. Whoops! But Scar does get a kill. In fact, he is the only Disney villain to kill another character on screen, as he lovingly looks his brother in the eyes, says "Long live the king," and then damns himself to hell as he releases his paws and lets his brother fall to his death. He's also got one of the best villain songs out there, Be Prepared, full of Nazi-esque goose-stepping as the hyenas and he start to plan their blitzkrieg on the Pride Land. But wouldn't you know it, and this is the worst part, Scar is a really bad leader. Now this isn't uncommon. We've seen this with Prince John in Robin Hood, but Scar physically causes the area to die. There is the off chance that when Simba returns it happens to be the dead of winter, but still, popularity polls don't look good. Anyway, if Scar weren't a bastard enough, he decides right before he kills Simba to let him in on that little secret that he's got, which of course backfires and Simba almost kills him. But even when Simba pardons Scar, he continues to be a bastard, attacking Simba only to be defeated by his own hyenas, which is pretty ironic. I guess he wasn't prepared. Unlike many Disney villains, Maleficent is recognized as evil right out of the gate. Did the Forbidden Mountain that she lives on give it away? Maybe that's why she wasn't invited to the ceremony for baby Princess Aurora. Of course that sort of backfires when Maleficent shows up anyway, and she's feeling a little hurt. She could have taken it a little better. You know, just not sent them a card for Christmas or something. But no, she controls all the powers of evil, so she decides to put a death curse on the girl. Maleficent takes a grudge to a whole new level. And she's actually the only Disney villain to get a character study in movie, as Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather discuss why she's so evil. And I quote, "She doesn't know anything about true love or kindness or the joy from helping others. Sometimes I think she isn't very happy." Well, that calls for a girls' night out! I'll blend the margaritas! Nice try, fairies, but Maleficent scoffs at true love, as she makes very clear when talking to Prince Philip. But of course, Maleficent has been granted a ton of nasty little tricks up her sleeve. Like teleportation, green fire, she can summon lightning and thorns. Oh, and she can turn into a really evil-looking dragon. Easily one of the coolest embodiments of evil. 2. Remember what I said about Hades? Contract are bad news. And Ursula presents her case in such a simple fashion in Poor Unfortunate Souls. She plays on Ariel's insecurities of trying to be with Prince Eric. Ursula offers her a chance at being happy. For a price. Legs for voice. Oh, there are a few more stipulations to the contract. If Ariel doesn't get a kiss of true love in 3 days' time, then Ursula owns her. What's also so amazing about Poor Unfortunate Souls is that the song does so much in such a small amount of time. It furthers the plot, it shows off Pat Carroll's emotional and vocal range, and shows how evil Ursula really is. By the end of the song, you know she's bad news. Then she pulls a super 90210 bitch move when she shows up on shore just to make sure that Eric doesn't fall in love with Ariel. She doesn't even want Eric, she just wants to screw over Ariel, which in turn screws over Triton because the whole time Ariel has just been a pawn in this very large chess game that Ursula is playing to take over the entire ocean. The only thing that's willing to take her out is the bow of a ship. And man, boob kill. That sucks. 1. Frollo was probably the least intimidating name out there, but trust me, he is the worst of the worst. Frollo's got a number of crimes against him, but I could really just name one and you'd be like, yeah, okay, he is the worst, and that being genocide. He's trying to cleanse all of Notre Dame of the gypsies, because they're like rats or something. But of course, he's willing to let some of the gypsies, like Esmeralda, live if they sleep with him. He's a creepy fucker who justifies all of his actions through either the law or the church. Now, I've never been one for trusting the pious man, and this could be because of Tartuffe or David Koresh. Take your pick. But what's even worse than his ideologies being so backward is that he has the means to carry out some of these crazy notions that he has. And oh yeah, remember that thing with Cruella about drowning a baby? Yeah, Frollo would do it. He almost does. Thank God for that priest, otherwise Quasimodo would be one baby in a well. I mean, really, it wasn't enough that he killed Quasimodo's mom on the steps of a church as she's screaming sanctuary? And then he lies to the poor hunchback, tells him to stay inside, never to see other people again, and only utilizes him when the time is right. There is so much wrong and inherently evil, it just makes your skin crawl. It's impossible to doubt him as the #1 Disney villain. And seriously, can you imagine him and Esmeralda, you know? That's just, oh. So those are my top Disney villains. Leave your thoughts and your lists in the comments below. Or you can check out previous reviews and be sure to like my Belated Media Facebook page. As for me, I'm gonna watch these scrolling villains. You're scrolling behind me, but not really. You're scrolling behind me, thanks to computers. It's like Avatar, but not in 3D.